Okay, so lots to talk about with a high def NES. First off, I am not wearing my Game Tech t-shirt because you can see the flag. And I like this shirt. I've never seen a Pantera shirt like this ever before. There you go. It is old, worn, and faded, but I like it. So, first off, let's review what's happened so far. Huge fiasco with GoDaddy. The demand was so high that we had too much traffic for GoDaddy. Okay, what happened was probably around 5:15, 5:30, I started getting tweets and YouTube comments saying that the website was down. Embarrassing, very embarrassing. So the first thing that I found that I could do is I actually went and upgraded my, whatever they call it, the resource allocation, whatever. I went from level 1 to level 2 to level 3, like that, just boom boom. And there's some monitors on the side, and one of them was like memory allocation or whatever, maybe RAM, or I think it was memory, and it was redlined. And level 1 is like 512 kilobyte or megabyte, 512 megabyte. And then you double that to 1 gig, and then you double it again to 2 gig. And every time I upgraded, it redlined immediately. It was just redlined. And then another one was CPU usage. It was pretty much always close to redlining. And then the third one was something about simultaneous entry connections or something like that. And it's only 150, and it was usually pretty well redlined, but it's kind of hard to explain that one, but it has something to do with, like, 150 different people can try to load the same page, I guess, at the same time, but it only takes milliseconds for that to happen. So it's not like 150 at a time total, it's just 150 at a time, and they're all constantly changing. So eventually I had to 404 the site, and I did that just by deleting the index.php file, so that I could get into the site, because even I couldn't. I was getting the 503 error that everybody else was. I couldn't get into the site. So finally I 404'd it, went in and updated the page to actually start the sale. And this was probably closer to 7:15 before I figured out how to do this. I've been talking to a few people, they were trying to help me and whatnot. So the sale started maybe like 7:15 or whatever. I think the first sale actually got through about 7:20, and I think by 9, maybe not quite 9, they were sold out. And I 404'd the site again just so I could go in there and make sure, because I was getting cancellation order emails from WooCommerce, and I was recognizing the names as the people that actually had gotten order through. So I was worried that it was somehow adding inventory back in, and I was going to end up selling too many, which I didn't, thankfully. It was just fine. After you upgrade to level 3, the next upgrade is to a virtual private server. I don't know how much it cost or whatever, but you had to call to do that. And I knew that wasn't going to take effect immediately, and I would be wasting my time, and I was wanting to try something else. So big thanks to everybody that stuck around and bought a kit. I know a lot of people got mad and just gave up on it. I'm real sorry about that. We had no idea. I had no idea it was going to be. The website said there was 15,000 hits, and I'm sure they all happened within those few hours. What I don't know is if that's 15,000 people or just 15,000 tries to the website, because there was a lot of people said they just kept hitting their F5. So I don't know if that added to the 15,000. It would kind of make sense, but I also wouldn't be surprised if it was 15,000 different people trying to get in there. Seems a little high, but you never know. So if anybody knows whether or not WordPress would tell me about like page hits, or if it was different people, or how I'd find out, let me know. So once they were all sold, I started on shipping right away. Now this was Sunday night when they sold. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and half of Thursday. That's all I did was package up these kits and ship them out. Anybody that did priority mail in the U.S. got a box like this. And I had 200 of those boxes pre-assembled, main board and interposers already in them. And then I had the little baggies with the headers and sockets and the 2 conductors already in it. And I had cap kits pre-made. So I thought I was prepared, and I thought it was going to go a lot faster. But man, it did not. It took forever, and it was just 200 kits. So, not looking forward to the next sale because of that. But we made money. It was successful. So I really can't complain. And let's see. And it wasn't just I did it for a few hours a day. I did it over 12 hours each of those days, except for the half day. I did have a little bit of a problem with international shipping. They did not like the box that I used. So I've already ordered boxes. This was the international box. You can probably tell why they didn't like it. So I've ordered some boxes that are almost exact same size as this. And luckily my postmaster did not do anything to the labels, so it'll be the same tracking number. There was only 11 so far that got sent back to me from the postmaster. And I ordered boxes a couple days ago, so I'll get those taken care of pretty quickly. Let's see. Yeah, the big reason that it took me so long, I think it was probably, I want to say it was Tuesday night, I ran out of pre-assembled interposers. I had 28 pairs pre-assembled because that's all that we had extra. You know, I had Kevin order 250 kits thinking that we might, well, we had some that were bad because China didn't test them. So we had like 15 that didn't even work right off the bat. And then I wanted spares, and then I wanted kits for myself. So I only had 28 pairs of interposers to pre-assemble to put into the kits. I had no idea how many people were going to want them, but it was 130 people wanted pre-assembled interposers. It was insane. So I think it was Tuesday night I did another 28 pair, you know, and I shipped all of those, or I got them packaged Wednesday night. I started in on the second or whatever, the third set of interposers and got all those put out, and then I think I did another I did another whole 28, but I only used half of those to finally finish out all the orders. Insane amount of pre-assembled interposers, but again, you know, I can't complain because I made money on that. I need to get the numbers for the other stuff, and I'll come back to you. So, 130 pre-assembled interposers, 140 cap kits, that was excellent, and 25 LED. The LED kit, I struggled with that one because it was the day before the sale that I was going to pre-assemble the LED. And I've done videos about that where I dip it into the solder pot. And then there was just so much to do, I decided, I'll just skip that and just sell the pieces. You know, it was $3 for the LED resistor and the 12 inches of wire. If you think that you would have bought one because it was pre-assembled for maybe like $6 or $7 instead of just the pieces, let me know, because next time I'll sell them pre-assembled. You know, I'll take the time to actually make them. Let's see. Okay, out of 195 kits, that was all that was sold. Actually, 194 because one person actually bought two, and that was one of the rules, is you could only buy one. The only way I even knew that was because he used the same PayPal email for both. He got over it. He might even become on the referral list, so that's fine. So 123 kits were sold for front loaders, 58 for top loaders, and only 14 for AV Famicoms. My contact in Japan thinks that more AV Famicom kits would have sold if the timing would have been right, because he said when the sale happened it was like between 8 and 11 a.m. on a Monday in Japan. So that might be why. I was going to try to find statistics for where I shipped to. I think that'll be fun. Okay, so shipped to 18, possibly 19 different countries. And in the US, I ship to 37 different states and one to Puerto Rico. Pretty cool. Alright, so the big news is we convinced Kevin that the demand is there and that that he wants to proceed and sell a bunch of them. I mean, he literally didn't think that they were going to sell. And he told me today, he said, well, I was basing that, a lot on the forum threads because NESRGB has, I don't know, a lot of posts like on shmups, and the high-def NES threads really don't have a ton. And I was like, well, that might be because there was a lot of initial problems with the NESRGB. There was like 6 or 7 firmware revisions, and people would get on there and talk about, their installation problems and whatnot. It's a much older thread, so can't really go by the threads, but we can go by how quickly the 200 sold out and, like website hits and stuff like that. So we're convinced to do pre-orders. Yes. The biggest thing that's going to do for me is reduce website traffic, because this is not going to be like we only have this many to sell, hurry up and get there at this time. No. I am just going to turn it on and probably just leave it up. And we were also taking down limitations on quantity of kits you can order. You can order as many as you want. So what the big thing is, you have to pay for it up front, and we may not be able to ship it anywhere between like 3 or 4 to 8 weeks after we order it, because it takes a lot of time to get it from China, which is where they're made. And then we program and test and package them. So I'll post that information on the website, but be aware that it will take time. This time around, you paid, a few days later, you're getting something shipped to you. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen with pre-orders. But this will give us a better idea of like what parts to order ahead of time. I can actually pre-package the orders way ahead of time, and hopefully I can get through shipping a lot faster. Something else. Oh yeah. Another big thing I'm going to change is I want customers who are going to use an installer to not pay shipping. What I want to do is I want to gather a bunch of kits for one installer and ship that installer one box. And the installer will pay the shipping from me to him. And he will charge his customers for that shipping. So let's say I send 10 kits to an installer. Well, it might only cost $10 or $15 to ship it, so he only has to charge his 10 customers an extra $1 for that shipping, and he may not even decide to do it. He might just kind of incur it into his installation charges or whatnot. So I think this is a good thing definitely for me, because it'll take me a lot less effort to throw a bunch of kits into a box and send it to one person, as opposed to sending a bunch of kits to a bunch of different people. So I'll get through orders faster. If you still want to order however many kits and ship them to yourself and then do it yourself, you still pay the shipping like normal. You can ship it to yourself and ship the kit and the console to an installer. That's totally fine. Also, the installer does not have to be a guy on my referral list. I will ship multiple kits to whoever. It seems kind of crazy not to put some of those people on my referral list, but whatever. We'll talk about that in a minute too. What else? The caps. I was using Nishikon caps, and they were very difficult to get the orders filled through Mouser. Like, I order them, I think I started ordering caps seriously last fall, and I was still getting shipments here just this last month. So I'm going to buy United Chemicon and Panasonic versions of some of the caps, still through Mauser though, so they're still really good brand name caps through a reputable supplier. So we're not getting any fake caps, and I'm still going to use low ESR caps. So that should be okay. I just wanted you to be aware ahead of time that if you don't get a Nishikon cap, it's still a good cap. Panasonic and United Chemicon are really great brands. I cannot get Rubicoms through Mauser, so you will not see those. But whatever, they're still good caps. I also want to add an option for LED for the front loader, and I think I've got some blue LEDs sitting here that all you have to do is replace the red one with the blue one. That's just going to be like a $1 option on there. I just want to retest it and make sure that's how it works, that it will work like that. I've done it before and it worked fine. So, like on the sale page, you'll go and you'll check for whichever version of the kit you want, and then you'll say if you want a cap kit for it, if you want pre-assembled interposers for it, and then the LED one will change to not just LED kits for top loader Navy Famicom. It'll also have an option for front loader. Below that will be the shipping option that I'll have to add, so that people sending to an installer will not pay shipping. And it'll just be a drop-down menu that says ship to me or ship to installer. And if you hit ship to installer, I will hold the kit until I've got however many of them are going to get sent to that guy, and you won't pay shipping. So that's your reward for having me send it to an installer. And I already talked about the discount or the shipping savings. What else? This is a long list. Kit revisions. After assembling 260 plus interposers in a few days, I'm going to have Kevin change the pads because they are oval shaped in line, and I was getting a ton of bridging. So we're going to change those to circles, and it's just going to be on the headers. The sockets actually soldered totally fine together. Well, I'm not going to say that. He might change the pads on the sockets as well, but they'll still be big enough for your typical DIY with just the big chisel tips to still solder it one at a time just fine. It's mostly for me and anybody who wants to drag solder them real quick. I was trying all kinds of different techniques to get it to not do it, and I had to get pretty crazy with it, but that would save me time on assembly of the interposers. And I'm also going to try to switch to a no clean flux solder. So if anybody out there has any recommendations for really good solder with no clean flux in it, that's something I want to do, because all the interposers I sent out needed the rosin core flux cleaned off of it. I figured as much time as that was going to take me, they'd probably rather just hurry up and have their stuff sent to them, because you're going to solder on the rest of the kits, and if you're going to clean it off, then you can clean it off the interposer too. I'd rather not do that in the future. I'd rather just have no clean flux used on them. So yeah, you do want to clean your flux off. You could probably actually pull out something you soldered 20-30 years ago with rosin core flux on it, and there'd be no damage. But I believe a lot of people would argue that you really do need to clean that off of there. And I've had the unfortunate mistake of using some the water soluble stuff, the organic core stuff, and not cleaning it off, and it creates this like milky layer on it. It's terrible, and that stuff will eat through. What else on the kit revs? The color is going to change from blue, I think, to red. And on the main board, the HDMI connector is going to be moved out about 3 millimeters. So on the top loader and AV Famicom, we are going to have to cut the rib that sits like underneath the motherboard in the back, the width of the high def NES board, and down perfectly flat on future installations. But we won't have to cut the HDMI cord anymore, and the connector will be not totally flush with the back, but it'll be sitting on the plastic of the shell for sure. And somebody asked about slim connectors, and I like the idea. He said if we used whatever the mini HDMI connector was, is that we could actually raise it up and only cut like the rear panel on the motherboard instead of having to cut any of the bottom shell. And you could use a 3D printed rear panel and only cut that, and then you could have all your original parts never touched. That's a great idea. However, especially on the AV Famicom, there are a ton of pins right there. Some of them are power, video and audio signals that could potentially touch that connector. I don't know that there's enough of that rear panel sticking down to make that happen right. So we can investigate, I guess, but I really don't see that happening, because the way we do it now is still pretty easy. I don't like cutting the plastic either, but that's what we got for now. If somebody wants to investigate that and prove to me, sure, then we'll look into it further. Another big announcement is Kevtris is not only convinced that the kit's selling well, but he's convinced to do some of the other stuff that we were talking about. And what he wants to do is have an add-on board for the main board to give us analog outputs. Yes, component RGB, S-video, and composite. And he's also, I don't know if he talked about analog audio, but he definitely talked about optical audio output. So those could be small add-on boards that we see in the future, and I think they will. I'm not gonna say this for sure, but I think they're only going to work with red boards and after. So this next revision will have some kind of connector holes or whatever for the sub board to solder down to the main board. And I also don't know how tall it's going to be either. We need to keep it down low so that, because there's only so much room between the bottom of the top loader and AV Famicom motherboard to the top parts of the high-def NES board. But that is something that he is going to look into. What else? So the referral list. There was a change recently, and I do believe there are going to be a lot more people added to the list. If there are any referral list applicants out there, anybody that wanted to be on the list and I couldn't get them a kit however many months ago it was, if you got a kit now, be sure to email me, prove to me that you're worthy of being on the list. A guy was removed because not really his mod practices. I will say that. What happened is I found a picture of his mod work on a console he was selling on eBay, and I didn't like it. He put an NES-RGB pout switch right through the 1-800 sticker on the back of a top loader, and it looked like shit. And I asked him about it. I confronted him, and his reply was very unprofessional. And I mistook what he said. He said, "Well, that was a personal console," or whatever the word was. Yeah, it was his personal console or something like that. And I thought he meant that was a picture of his personal console. That wasn't the one he was selling. So I said that was false advertising. That was the only misunderstanding. The rest of it was he got taken off the list because he was being very unprofessional. Was taking it too personal, and he was saying some stuff that I didn't like. He was saying stuff like he was only doing it for the beer money. Well, I don't want people that are just doing this haphazardly. I want them to be professional, and I want them to give a shit about this. But other people might be removed pretty soon too, unless they're the only modder I have for the country. I've got several for US, but if they're not taking this seriously, and what I mean is, my requirements for being on the list is I want you to have experience. I want you to have been doing mod work for a while, and I want you to have done NES-RGB mods, and I want you to have the proper tools for doing the mod work, and I want you to do it well. I don't want to see just bad mod work. I want to see that you took care, and I also want to know that you have good relations with customers. keep it professional, whatever. But one of the things that some of them aren't some of the people that are on the referral list that aren't doing very well is helping me with exposure. I want you to do videos of the installation or a review of it, post on Facebook or Twitter about it, or have your own website and help with exposure. Social media, whatever you can do. And some people told me in the beginning they just weren't into that, and it's my referral list, and my reputation is transferred through them to customers. So I'm going to do what I want with that referral list. If I don't feel like you're worthy of being on it, you're off. However, that does not mean that you can't buy and install kits and advertise your services. There's plenty of modders already out there doing it that are not on my referral list. I have no problem with that. They just definitely will not be warrantied through us. Yeah, one last thing, and this is a big one. I am going to start to try to transition away from PayPal payments. I have been working all day to figure out how to make it direct payment through credit card, debit card on my website, and it will work, and I will get it figured out. And I'm not taking PayPal off just yet, but I think it's going to happen. Just a couple days before the sale, a very well-known modder contacted me and said, "Hey, guess what? PayPal just banned me from their services." And they said it was because he sold his Region or TG16 or Duo Region mod service. And he said not only that, but they had investigated him, found forum threads about him and YouTube videos, and mostly they went to his website. And they said they weren't even comfortable with the NES RGB and high-def NES modification services. And they stated that because they stated that any mod service is unacceptable to them. The region switch, that one I understand, but any kind of just video or audio modification, I don't get that. I really don't. They said anything that makes the console work other than it was meant to from the factory is considered unacceptable. I say that's bullshit. I mean, just think of any aftermarket car part analogy. I'm not allowed to put a turbo on my car that didn't have a turbo. To me, that's the same kind of thing. I don't know. It's when you get into the IP stuff that it gets weird. So, yes, he was banned from their service and they froze his account. He can't even get the money out of his account for 6 months. And that's crazy. I mean, it reminds me of some of the crazy eBay policy. It's almost like it's the same people still. So, yeah, like I said, I've been working quite a bit on my website to get it to where it will take credit card, debit card directly. There is a wire transfer bank account direct payment to, but I don't think that's even worth bothering with. And like I said, the PayPal will stay up there for now, but expect it to go away. And I'm also looking into trying to get Google Wallet installed into WooCommerce somehow. I haven't really investigated yet, but I think that's a PayPal type service that I want to add to it. The fees are actually for the credit card, debit card direct payment, they're almost exactly the same as PayPal fees. I mean, PayPal is like 2.9% plus 30 cents per transaction. The credit card is 2.85% and 30 cents per transaction. So same fees, and I'm guessing Google Wallet is just as good or better on the fees. So I know it's a huge pain in the ass because at this point everybody's got PayPal and that's what they're used to using. It's easy, whatnot. But if they're going to freeze me out of my account, and I've sold hundreds of kits, that's a lot of money that's going to get hold up for a long time. And if we don't have access to that money, we can't buy the kits to get them made, to get them shipped to us so we can get them shipped out. So if that happens, we are screwed. So transitioning away. So that is all the information and updates and review for now. If you want to keep up to date with what I'm doing, please follow me on Twitter, because I have been posting a lot more there lately, like a lot. And I often retweet anybody that posts about the high def NES kit. There's been a lot of successful installation tweets that I've retweeted over the last couple of days. People are actually getting them in and getting them working. I actually do have a few that don't work, and one of them is already sending it back to me to check it out. One of them actually ran, I think, hot air over one of his interposers, I believe, and I don't think he got them pre-assembled from me, but he got it to work again after doing that. So I am working on some frequently asked questions for the high def NES, like installation related or not working related, stuff like that. But it was to be expected, I guess. It's not the easiest thing to install, and it's pretty complicated. So that's it for now.